Yes. Chaim, good Yom Tov, everyone. Good Yom Tov, girls. How are you all doing?
Look at the Chaim that Chaim learned.
That's a serious Chaim you have there.
This is how Hasidim in Russia.
Yeah, with a big, with a thing like that, right?
Exactly.
Anyone know or not know what a tonight is? Of why we're saying the Chaim, even though in Chabad there's always a reason to say the Chaim all the time. But what is special about tonight? Anyone know?
Can I have a Coke, please?
That's a good answer. We could, yeah. You need Coke to say the Chaim. Oh, yeah. Sarah was listening.
You just told me the answer.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No one needs to know. You could say anyways.
Yeah, it's true. The Alter Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov's
Birthday.
birthday.
Right.
Oh my God, I almost forgot again.
That's amazing, though. You remembered. It's actually the Maral Maprog's your site today.
Ah, your time.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's amazing they ask for a request.
Yeah, so-
Even the phone didn't work.
Which means that those are my executives.
Yeah, let's start off by 100%. So, with the schus of the Alter Rebbe, Rabbi Chassid of Shner Zalman ben Baruch, and the Baal Shem Tov, Rebbe, Rabbi Chassid of Rabbi Yisrael ben Eliezer. In their merits, it says on someone's birthday, their mazal is extra strong, meaning their upper connection to God is revealed down here in this physical world. So when we have the two great luminaries that started Chassidus and Chabad Chassidus, the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, on the day of their birthday, that means their energy is shining very, very strong throughout all the worlds. And it's an opportune time to ask God for anything and everything, and really the gates of heaven are open up. So Hashem should bless everyone to have all that they need, all they want, and
The guy names.
I'm going to do it right now. And all the good should be revealed. Everything God does is good, but often we don't see it that way, and often it appears to be the opposite. So we want the blessings that they should be revealed in a good way. And speaking of which, I want to say the Chaim, for unfortunately, one of our center guys has been with us for quite a long time. He's not doing so good. He actually got electrocuted, and he's in critical care. He's actually now in Pennsylvania because he's already been transported to 3 different hospitals because each hospital didn't have the capacity to deal with his injuries, so they had to airlift him to another hospital. And he should have a refuah shlema. Chaim Yosef Aryeh ben Sarah Reyes. Chaim. And it's an interesting thing. Sorry. Of what happened to this young man. He was setting up an Eruv. An Eruv, so you can carry in Shabbos. A couple of the center guys are out in Kentucky. It's a family, a from family moved out there, and they've got a huge farm of 200 acres. And a couple of guys went out there, and they're helping, and they're trying to live off the land, and they're shechting their own cows and milking their own goats, and using literally trying to go off grid and live on the land. And they called this guy out to help set up an Eruv. They want to set an Eruv up for the whole property so people can carry and go on hikes and stuff. During the can't go so far, but at least you can carry throughout the property. And no one knows what happened because no one was around. I think his one of the rabbi's sons or a couple of sons, but they were like little kids. They were out there, kind of helping him, handing him stuff. And I don't know. He didn't fall. He was up on some kind of post or pole or something, an electrical pole, and I guess he touched the wrong wire, or no one really knows what happened. And he got electrocuted really bad. And he didn't fall, which is weird, which means that somehow the current was still in him. And because if you get electrocuted, God forbid, you become a live current, like you become part of that electricity. You can't separate from it. Or he could have possibly been melted, some of his skin to the pole. So by the time FPNL and came out and the police and the emergency, he was still up on the pole, but totally. And what happens is when you get electrocuted, we should never know from such a things, but it basically burns and fries your organs from the inside. So the outside of your body, you can't really see anything. It's internal. And they brought him to the local hospital. They couldn't take care of him. Then they airlifted him to, I think I mentioned, to Virginia, and they couldn't take care of him there. And then they airlifted him to Pennsylvania, where he is now. And he's fighting for his life. The last I heard, I talked to the friends this morning who are involved, who were there in the same place. And it looks like Baruch Hashem he's going to live. They said he's conscious, but unfortunately it looks like his legs are going to be amputated. And it's just a question of where and what. So I don't want to be too somber, but we should have a refuah shlema. And it brings up a couple questions. It brings up a lot of questions, actually, at least for me. I mean, I had a very hard day today. Just personally, just in my office, it was like one of those days that nothing seems to go right. And just dealing with a lot of aggravation, a lot of stress. This was very painful for me to hear. I've known this young man for probably 15 years. And very hard to hear. Very hard to hear that it happened. He was doing a mitzvah. He was putting an eruv together, right? So it kind of makes you wonder, how can God allow that to happen to someone who's doing something good? He literally flew out from New York to Kentucky to help these people, and look what happened. Charlie Kirk passed away today. Not like he was a good friend of mine, but he was a good friend of Israel. He was murdered. Yeah, he was murdered because someone doesn't agree with his beliefs, and to show how sick people are to the extent that they're willing to take another person's life because they're in disagreement with they're doing. And it's been a very hard day, a very hard, challenging day. And my understanding that a lot of people are going through a lot of challenges right now. It's a hard time for the Jewish people. And I'm sitting in my office before davening Marav, and I'm like very just upset. I'm trying to snap out of it, and the voice is like, "It's Chai Elul, right? Chai Elul is Chai is life. It's the life of the month of Elul. It's on someone's birthday. You're supposed to be happy. How much more so the Baal Shem Tov, the Alter Rebbe. But how are we supposed to be happy when the things out there in the world in general, and that happen to us in particular, appear to be the opposite of reasons to be happy, right? It's happiness is it's an emotion. It's not something like you could really turn off and on with a switch, but yet we're supposed to be happy, and in fact we're commanded to be happy. We're supposed to serve God with joy. Yet often He makes things difficult, and we question ourselves as to why would something so bad happen to someone who is doing something good. Right? And there's a lot of evil people out there doing really bad things, and nothing bad's happening to them. And you have people doing good things, and then bad things happen to them. It's a lifelong question. People ask, why do the good suffer and the evil prosper? So a lot of questions, a lot of things to go over, but it's just something to pause and think about for a second. And I'm not claiming to have the answers to some of these questions, but that's the point of a Farbrengen. We could speak about it and talk about things and share. And I want to encourage everyone to be involved. It's not meant to be a speech. It's meant to discuss and Farbrengen and talk about what we think about what's going on and what we think what's going on with us and what is our current state of where we're holding in our lives. This is the month we're in of Elul. And it says the month of Elul is a very important month in the Hebrew calendar because it's a month of introspection, a month of what we call Cheshbon HaNefesh. I'm sure you have all heard the acronym for the month of Elul, Ani Dodi V'Dodi Li, right? What does it mean? It means I'm to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. It's a pasuk from Shir Hashirim. And it's basically showing how in this month, it's the month of Tshuva. It's the month that I started my Tshuva process. Going back, I don't know if I could count that long, 22 years ago when I started my tshuva. A lot of Baal Tshuvas I know started their journey back to Hashem in this month. It's a very special month where it says God is in the field. The king is in the field. What does it mean that the king is in the field? It's kind of a strange concept. It means God is accessible more so than normal in this time of year. But God's always accessible, right? We have a direct connection with God. We can talk to Him at any point in time. What's so special about the month? So we learn that what's special is that it says when it means the king is in the field, it means that God is ordinary in His kingdom, so to speak, in His castle above. And there's a lot of ministers, there's a lot of angels. He has thousands and thousands of spiritual entities that stand before Him in the upper worlds. And when we reach out to access God, normally during the year, sometimes it takes a little bit more of effort because we have to work a little harder to get through those basic lower levels of access points where it says, have a good night. Sure, good
Thank you
Yom
so
Tov.
much.
But this time of the year, especially, it says God goes out from His castle, goes out from his kingdom, and actually comes down into the field and comes out to greet us. Instead of normally where we have to go out to reach God. God says, I'm leaving my kingdom, right? And I'm coming out to meet each and every one of you where you're holding in your life to let you know that I'm here. And I'm here to have a relationship with you however you would like. I'm fully accessible to you to have a real meaningful relationship and however you want that to look like. But it has to start from your impetus. That's in ani ledodi v'dodi li, meaning we're the ones who have to say, God, okay, yeah, you came out to me and I want to do something about it. Not like, I don't care. You came out to me and so what? It's not affecting me. It's not touching me. It's not bothering me. In fact, I don't really have a reason to want to connect to you because, and we all have a long list of things that we're angry about. I mean, here together in a Farbrengen, and we can be vulnerable. I'm happy to be vulnerable myself. We all have what we say is a bone to pick with God, with our parents, with friends, with teachers, with anyone who has done us wrong in our life. And everyone has been dealt different sets of cards in life. And I deal my work as an attorney is we deal with people who are going through difficult times, challenging times financially. Their homes are being foreclosed on, their credit card companies are suing them, they're on the verge of bankruptcy, they're having very hard times. And a lot of times we're trying to help them and they're getting angry at us and yelling and taking things out on us. And I have to remind them, listen, I'm on your team. We're here to help you. We're not against you. But what happens is that they have such frustration and anger of where they are in their life and they need someone to blame. So you have husbands and wives fighting. They're yelling back and forth at each other. I've seen many divorces come into play because of these financial issues. And if things aren't going so well with their legal case, they want to blame us. But it's not our fault. And I have to remind them, listen, I can only work with the set of facts that you've given me. I can't change the law. I can't change your situation. I didn't put you in this situation. But we have to help the best we can for your situation. And each one of us is dealt different hands in life. And I've never met, and I'm a pretty well-traveled, versed person. I've hung out with billionaires. I've hung out with homeless people. I've really traveled around the world and spent a lot of time with a lot of people and try to understand, especially before I came to God, what makes people do things, bad things, good things, what drives people, just to understand people. And I can tell you that I've never, ever, ever met anyone in my life who's honest, who has not suffered in some level of capacity, who has not been dealt numerous challenges from God. And a lot of times what happens is we feel alone. We feel like no one understands us and no one knows what I'm going through and no one could relate to it. It's interesting. I just got back. I did a road trip to North Carolina by myself. Oh yeah. So there's a road in North Carolina called the Tail of the Dragon, and it's the most dangerous, crazy road in the country, some people say in the world. And you have motorcycles and sports cars coming from all over the country to drive on this road. There's 318 turns, over 11 miles, and North Carolina is 12 hours away. I drove 12 hours to North Carolina, stayed a few days, ran up this road, heart racing in my throat, white knuckled, pushing my car to the complete limits. I don't know why I'm a little bit cuckoo to do such a thing, because literally people die. If you Google Tail of the Dragon on YouTube, you'll see cars flipping over, motorcycles flipping. It's like a very dangerous road like this back and forth. And I enjoyed it because I don't know, I enjoy high risk activities, I guess. And I was there for a week by myself, and I got my own Airbnb, and I spent most of the week just driving by myself and came back. And I was telling someone about it, and they're like, you went away by yourself? I'm like, yeah. They're like, weren't you lonely? I was like, no, not at all. In fact, I happen to really enjoy solitude. It's something that I cherish. Not that I don't love my wife or my kids or my friends or the people at the center or what I do for a living. Those are all things I enjoy, but I happen to enjoy also time by myself. And I tried to explain to this person, there's a difference between loneliness and solitude. loneliness is a negative state. It's a state where you're despondent, you could be depressed, you're sad, and you don't have to be alone to be lonely. You could be with a big group of people. Someone mentioned social anxiety before. What does social anxiety come before, right? I used to have it also. You walk into a room of people you're around, and you get uncomfortable. You feel like everyone's staring at you, everyone's looking at you, right? And we're all highly sensitive people, right? That's why we're all here. And it's this feeling of you sense things in other people, and you feel things in other people, and why is this person looking at me that way? And we start becoming very self-conscious, and it's hard. It's a very uncomfortable setting, and we can have this feeling where, and I'm sure everyone has felt it at some point in their life, or maybe more often than not, of loneliness, even when you're around other people, right? It's like before I started my tshuva, when I was going through my different phases in life, and I was having a good time. I was partying. I was going around the world. I was in crazy nightclubs and parties, and just having a really, really good time. And for a while, it was really fun. And then after a while, it just started feeling empty. And the same kind of people that I was having a good time with, all of a sudden I'm with, and I'm not connecting to them anymore. I'm sitting around in settings where most people, like, in the outside world would be like, oh my God, this is incredible. What a crazy party. And I'm sitting there, and I actually felt lonely and alone with a group sometimes of hundreds of people in big parties. I didn't feel that way in the beginning, but towards the end I did. And it's, how do you feel lonely when you're with so many people? And the reality of it is because when something is off inside, and that's what started happening with me, I started realizing something's not right in this world, in this situation, and things around me, and it started bothering me internally. And when something is off inside, you don't feel right. You feel isolated. You feel alone. On the other hand, if you feel comfortable inside, and you are alone, meaning there's no one else around you, you could be anywhere in the world, and it could be a tremendously enjoyable, uplifting, introspective, amazing experience. But yet let's just make believe there's no one else around. Let's just take the same situation of being alone and lonely, of being alone in solitude. And you could see that you could be, from the external world around you, the same place, and have a totally different experience of enjoying your self-presence and being unhappy with your self-presence. And it's very, very challenging to have positive relationships with other people, have positive social settings, and have meaning if we can't get to that place inside. Because we relate to the world, not how the world is, but how we perceive it, right? Because you could put 50 people into a room in a lecture or experience something, and they're all going to come out with a different experience from it, but the experience hasn't changed. It's like, you see that, right? Biographies about famous people, and that same person could have 20 different biographies written about them that are completely different stories, and it's the same person, because it's all perspective. So, the question is, how do we get to this place inside where, as they say, we're comfortable in our own skin, where we can start feeling good enough about ourselves that regardless of what's going on outside of us, it doesn't affect what's happening inside of us. Not an easy place to get to, right? Because I think for the most part, most people are in the opposite of that perspective, that no matter what's going on, they can't get to this place of happiness inside you. I mean, you see what's going on in the world. It's absolutely insane. It's really, I think any sensible person who sees what's going on in the world has to question what the hell is going on. I mean, people literally just murdering people randomly, or they don't believe in what people get in an argument over a Democrat or Republican, and someone pulls out a gun and shoots. And it's you have to be pretty messed up to take someone else's life because you don't agree with their viewpoints. And it seems like things are getting worse. It doesn't seem like they're getting better. If the Rebbe tells us Mashiach is here, and we have to be b'simcha. So how do we make these two things kind of work together? Hodeo, you want to say something? No? Hi.
It doesn't mean that after we're doing so good with ourselves, we need to go by ourselves alone to travel.
I didn't say that.
No, because it's a kind of a person. No, I'm not saying that you're
Yeah.
saying. In the end, it's not that you don't have to, because maybe I will never go. I don't know, because I will not like to go alone to.
No, but
But I'm happy to stay alone and not have. a
correct.
person
That's what I'm
maybe-
saying.
Because
You know,
always, there is lonely wolf people that really, really like to be alone.
correct. Many different
Right.
people are, but I'm not saying extreme. You have to go on vacation, but you could be in solitude alone.
And
And-
very
Right,
comfortable.
right. Like the difference is, there's no one in the house, and you have to have a TV going on, or a music, or talking on the phone, or some type of distraction thing because you're not comfortable with yourself. When you could be alone with yourself without anyone, you don't have to travel anywhere, but literally just be alone with yourself and just be able to be smile and just to be happy with your own existence. This is solitude. It doesn't have to. I mean, when you go out into nature, it changes everything. You're in a forest. You're in the ocean. Things like this really bring to it. But the idea is to find self-enjoyment, right? We learn in Chassidus and Kabbalah that the first stage in God's creation, when He started this process of what we would say is separating His energy to share it with the world, that first stage of removing energy from within God to outside was the concept of God enjoying His own self. I know that's a hard concept to understand.
Can you say that one?
Yeah, that God, before He created us and created worlds and created this idea of what we call as mashpia and makabel, of giving and receiving, of sending out energy and getting energy back, He first had to take the energy out of Himself and enjoy His own company, so to speak. It's a self-pleasure, a self-enjoyment.
This is before the world was.
Correct. So,
What did that look like?
huh?
What did that look like?
Wow, I wish I could tell you. It's hard.
It's called Shashu'im Atzmeim.
Yeah.
It's called in Hebrew. It's a known one. It's a Shashu'im Atzmeim. It's like
Shuim atzomim. Atzmi.
That you're so playful with yourself. You're like laughing and I don't know, just having good. And but he was like playing with
This
himself.
is God was doing that.
With himself.
Enjoy. We can't relate what that means.
I don't know,
It's not. I don't know if it was like
It's a hard concept.
yeah,
Isn't the world him doing that? Or no?
yeah,
He's also experiencing.
correct. But with the world, the first step was just by himself. So in other words, we could when you learn Chassidus and Kabbalah,
Try to understand
Come on.
that
Looking
just
at
like
yourself in the
crazy.
mirror and like playing
right, exactly,
Yeah.
your
Right.
Right.
Right?
in the
Yeah.
mirror.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, right. Like let's say there's no mirror, just by yourself, and now there's a mirror, so you're like seeing yourself, so to speak.
Right.
And what's interesting, you study Chassidus and Kabbalah, and you go deep enough, as we're doing in the Sefer Yetzirah class, you start realizing that every single thing that God is doing and does, we can learn an application from that in our own lives. And that's the idea we're talking about of this concept of solitude versus loneliness, of to be able to have a place inside where we're comfortable, ideally even happy with ourselves, enough that we can share that happiness with others. Because it's very, it's a basic concept in all healing. And hey, Bushki, how are you? It's a very basic concept in all different healing and work, that and therapy, that you can't give what you don't have. So it's very hard to be really lovingly towards another if you have anger towards yourself. Or it's very hard to be merciful towards another if you're not merciful to yourself. So this is the idea of getting to this place where we can experience this self-enjoyment, so to speak, or even before we get to enjoyment, at least comfortability of being in our own skin, which is hard to do. It's very hard to do because, as we mentioned, what happens is we have emotional baggage, if you will. Let's call it that. That any time in life where we've experienced something negative, unpleasant, how much more so a trauma, an abuse, a neglect, whatever, an accident, a sickness, and there's a million blanks you could fill in, right? We've all had our share of garbage in our life, for lack of a better term. And you know, on one hand, we can, you know, deal with it and we say, all right, you know, this makes me who I am. It makes me stronger, you know, makes me a better person. But to let go of it internally, to remove that heaviness that's inside, that baggage, that's the real work. Is how do we take it out? How do we remove it? Because we can move on physically in our lives, but emotionally, they still have that residue that gets stuck. And that's a very hard thing to take out. You know, in let's just talk about God for a second. You know, it's very hard we're in the month of Tshuva, in the month of Elul, right? Where we're supposed to apologize to God and ask for forgiveness. And that's a hard concept, because if we're angry at God and we feel that he's done wrong to us and screwed up our lives, how do you ask him for forgiveness, right? It's the opposite. You know, I went through a period of a lot of anger towards God. And when someone explained this concept to me, I was like, ask God for forgiveness? He needs to ask me for forgiveness. He needs to apologize for screwing my life up. You know what he did to me? And you know how many problems and all this, like, he needs to say sorry to me. Why should I say I'm sorry to him? Right? Sound familiar? Anyone or no?
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
100%. So how do you bring yourself to apologize when you feel like you've been done wrong to? It's not an easy thing to do. You know, we liken our relationship in Kabbalah and with God to a relationship between a husband and a wife. God is considered the husband, and Am Yisrael considered the wife, the Shekhinah, the divine presence in a feminine form. The giver and the receiver. But the giver and the receiver then becomes, each takes on the other role. Like God gives and we receive them. We give, God receives, and that's Ani Ledodi V'Dodi Li. We're giving to God, he's giving to us. So let's just talk about a relationship. When my wife and I were in therapy, and therapist number is 43, I think. No, just kidding. It wasn't that many. I think it was 2 or 3. With Thalia, I talk about this a lot. It was a very profound. Sometimes there's a saying. It says when when the student is ready, the teacher, the teacher appears, right? So what does it mean? It's not just a physical teacher. It means when you're ready for the lesson, it comes to you in a way that it clicks. Because sometimes you can hear something 100 times. You know, in Egypt, according to Hasidus, you know what part of your body Egypt is? It's the throat. Sounds weird. Why? Because the throat is what separates the head from the body. So you could hear in your brain someone say something, or you could see the same thing hundreds of times and say, yeah, okay, I got it, yeah, I heard you, I tell my kids, I know. Okay, but why you're not doing it? If you know, we can know, we can hear, I know it, but if nothing's changing, then something's wrong. So if the information that we're collecting of positive things that are going to help us, if someone's giving us good advice or something like that, if it's not descending down into the heart, where the heart warms and melts a little bit from the pain inside and says, wow, I'm ready to do something about this, then it just stays locked up here. And that's why Egypt, the throat, tries to block the energy. Pharaoh tries to take the energy from the brain and utilize it for negative things. And so that voice of, however you want to call it, the Satan, the Yitzhahara, Pharaoh, whatever, what he's doing is he's going to give you every reason why not to do tshuva, and why you should be angry at God, and why you have every right to be angry, and why you have every right to not listen, and he'll repeat that message over and over again. And it's a message that we will buy into because it logically makes sense. Logically. But what about emotionally? What about, what is it doing for us? Is it serving us, right? Are we happier people? Have we really found a place in our life where we're like, you know what? I don't need this. I'm good without it. Okay, is it real? You know, someone went to the Rebbe one time, and he went through the Dalgaron and asked for a blessing, and the Rebbe asked him if he's putting on tefillin, and he said no. He said, why not? And the guy pulled up his sleeve, and he said, that's why not. He had Holocaust, numbers, Shem Mishmor, on his arm. He said, you want me to do, that's the loving, caring God. I want nothing to do with him. Look what he did to our people. Look what he did in the Holocaust. How am I possibly supposed to do something for such a God? The Rebbe said, you have every single right to be angry and frustrated and scream out to God. And he will answer you. When Mashiach comes, you will have the answers. But in the meantime, why are you going to cut off your own head? In other words, are you making God suffer? You're making yourself suffer. We're the ones who are when you're angry at someone in life and when you hold a grudge against someone in life, we all have maybe that person or people that, we see them and we're like, kind of makes our skin crawl a little bit. We think about them, we're angry. Someone brings up their name, we're like, so are we really harming that person by being angry at them? We're harming ourselves because we're containing anger inside. And anger is an energy. Madness, frustration, it's an energy. And when that energy gets stuck inside of us, it starts becoming negative. It's a negative thing. And that negativity brings negativity to our life. So if it was the other way around, and it was like, you know what, it's a good thing. It's making me happier. Things are better. My life is improving. Okay, great. But it's not what happens. So when my wife and I were going through this therapy, we went through a period where we were just like, it was like cats and dogs. We were like, it was ugly. A lot of fighting, a lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, a lot of blaming. And we were so frustrated with each other because I couldn't see her point of view. She couldn't see my point of view because we were so stuck in our own viewpoint of what we thought was right. We couldn't come to conclusions, to meeting a place. And I remember when the therapist told us, and I share this story a lot because I said it was just a time for me to hear the message. And she said, listen, enough. You got two choices. You divorce or you say Kaddish. I said, say Kaddish? What do you mean say Kaddish? It means you have to say Kaddish. When God forbid we shouldn't know, but if someone loses someone in their life, you say Kaddish for them. You have to mourn. You have to mourn for what you didn't get. And you have to let go of it, or you're going to be miserable your whole life. Or divorce. But you can't live in this constant, because what are you doing? You're just hurting each other. You're not. What good is coming of this? Nothing positive is happening. In Judaism, when someone passes, you're only allowed to mourn for 30 days. If, God forbid, it's a parent, a year. But that's the max. On Shabbat and Yom Tov, you're forbidden to mourn. But if you lose a close friend or, God forbid, a parent or a brother, that's something you should mourn for your whole life. Judaism says no. There comes a point in time where you have to let go. You have to say goodbye. This person is no longer here. And we reach a point in our life we have to say goodbye to the negative baggage we're carrying around. Where we're saying, enough. Yes, I have a reason to be angry. Yes, I have a reason to be upset. I didn't get this, I didn't get that, I didn't get that, and I'm angry at you, God. Okay. And at what point in time does it stop? Because if it doesn't, we are the ones who are suffering.
Mm-hmm. But I have to tell you something.
Please.
I understand it because I'm old and I got it for many, many years and I never did it. Okay? Let's be honest. And what helped me to get it, it was the not religious guy, the grapholog that read the handwriting. And he's meeting people and he's reading his handwriting. And many times he's telling the people, I see your abundance is blocked because you don't have good relationship with your father. And he's not religious. And he's telling you have to respect your father because this is the source for your blessing. It's like God and you. And I became a selfie person. I said, okay, look, I have to ask forgiveness from my father, although he died. And ask forgiveness from Hashem also. And from a selfish reason that I need the abundance to start open and it's enough already. And this is a trick that I had to do because it was so blocked in the right way. I learned Hasidut. I need to hear from a not religious how I'm getting this because I'm so stuck for so long in my life and I am so fed up with it. And I said, okay, so it's me that I'm blocking So, but then slowly it softened my heart also to really to admit to my father and asking forgiveness and writing and taking it out. Because the minute you're stuck with all this anger, nothing opening and I'm stuck in the same thing.
Right.
But it's, I don't know, it's such a simple point, and I'm 50. I got it in 50. You're not like me. You're very young, and it's advanced generation. But we're holding, and we don't know that we're holding.
You know why? You don't have to explain. We had a client one time, and she was very difficult. Very difficult. A lot of our clients are difficult, but this client was very difficult. And we had a trial with her and whatever. It was a whole long story. And my partner, Matthew, was dealing with her, and she was just impossible. I mean, we did really good for this lady. We got her a lot of money. We helped her nonstop, all the time, complaining, arguing. But and the lady's daughter one time called up my law partner and said, "Listen, I just want to apologize." I said, "For what?" She said, "I'm there. I hear my mother. I hear the way she screams at you. I hear the way she gets upset at you. And I just want to apologize for her. She's not a bad person." She said her only problem is she'd rather be right than happy. And that's the problem, is we're so sure that we're right and God is wrong, my father's wrong, my mother's wrong, my husband's wrong, my neighbor's wrong, my friend's wrong, screw them. And we want to go to the grave being right.
Why?
Because
Why someone want to
it's called an ego. Exactly correct. It's an ego of I. Everything's about me. The world revolves around me. Not because I think I'm so great, because I think everyone and whatever they've done are out to get me.
Also, you need that, because if you don't have that, then you're nothing.
Then you'll die, yeah.
So you have to have a little bit of that.
What do you mean?
I understand what you're saying.
If there is no
Sense of
boundary, like the ego is the container for your own identity. And if you don't have an identity, then what are you? Anyone can just like do whatever they want, and you just let them.
So I hear what you're saying, and one of the main concepts of Chassidus, we're talking today's the Baal Shem Tov, the author of his birthday, is this concept of bittul, of self-nullification, of removal of self. And this is a difficult concept to grasp because, like you just said, what do you mean removal of
You
yourself?
don't have a self.
Right. So
we grew up
we're nothing. So you have nothing. Right. So the idea is you have to have
a self.
an ego. You have to have a self. You have to have an identity. You have to have, but then you have to nullify that identity and that self to a higher power and a higher purpose of Hashem. When we're a child and you're going through stages of development, the child's ego is a survival method. If I don't cry, I'm not going to get fed. My diaper's not going to get changed. But as the child starts growing, that ego starts manifesting into more than just an identity, but a building up of layers of an I, that now everything in the world is focused through what I think and I feel, right? Like if you're expressing to someone that you love them, the first word out of your mouth is I love you. I comes first. Why do I love you? Because you're so nice to me, you're so friendly to me, you do this, you cook for me, you know how to take care of me, you're doing that. Like, what if you take away those things? You still love the person? In other words, it's coming from most of the energy is coming from a very self-directive place. And ego is, there's a different, there's two sides of the same coin of someone who goes around and talks about all the time how great they are, how wonderful they are, and how successful they are, and how much money they make, and what a great businessman they are. It's, that guy's an egomaniac. But it's just as big of an egomaniac of someone who sits around, wallowing in self-depression of, this guy's such a jerk, and that's such an idiot, and, my parents screwed me over, and, screw God, and screw this. Like, it's the same ego. It's just one is external, one is internal. One is taking the energy out and one is pulling the energy in. But it's a focus of self.
I know, but children that were like pleasers, that never had the ego, the normal one, that they have a yesh, you first of all, and together building their yesh. And slowly, I remember Julia did it to me a lot, the one that doing the hypnosis, and the more she built me and becoming yesh, I told her, I'm such an arrogant person, and suddenly it started balancing, And first of all, I feel comfortable now to deal. Okay, I have arrogance. This is not good. But because I was so, I didn't have a normal yesh. I couldn't deal with this ego that is like everyone they're right, but I was not in the stage. People that are pleasers, they're just so pleasing. There's no time to build. No one encouraged them to build their yesh that really can do the second step of really nullifying, working on it. And now I can see this arrogance and stuff. Yeah, so ugly, but it's not breaking me because I have something that you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Something about
there's
children that were pleasers, and I'm giving it as example. Whatever this one wants, and maybe this one. What about me? Why don't ask the first question? What do I want? What do I need? Know this one because you didn't grow up in a. I didn't grow up in a healthy thing.
It's building up your confidence.
To be in this victimhood, and I understand that it's a different kind of the ego, but with these people you need to be very careful to help them build the edge, and then slowly, they are such a good people. They will do the work. I believe, but it's very hard to. It was very hard for me to find it because I felt so bad for myself, specifically when I saw Marty near me, so successful and succeeding, and I'm like I'm such a schmate. So Yetzer Hara, like just sitting there and said, look how schmate you are. They give you good, and you don't do anything. And he just was happy to put me more down, and I felt to this ego of a miserable person. And more building me, the more I'm like, no, I can do it. I don't know how, but
I heard you're saying, but what I do.
I can relate to this.
But what I'm saying is that the surrounding challenge to that is still getting past this point of I'm right. It's still getting place of in other words, the source of our problems is when it's a victim mindset of, well, of course this way. Because look at my mother, look at my father, and I'm this, I'm that, and look at what this one did, look at what that one did. In other words, my problems are all a result of being screwed from God,
but
parents.
both of those things could exist at the same time.
I'm sorry, what?
Like both can exist at the same time.
Like both what?
That like, yes, all these things happen to you, and it's not your fault that those things happen to you, and also you're responsible for your life.
100%. That's the idea. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. For it to coexist, absolutely. And don't get me wrong. There's a place like, I had my dad and I got in a big fight the other day. It was like we haven't gotten in an argument in like 20 years. Whatever. So it was like whole blow up over religion. He's still angry that I'm did tshuva. It's kind of the opposite world. People who like come from observant homes, if they go off the path, their parents are like furious. And you have people who come from like secular homes and they become like, like when my dad first saw me with the hat and jacket on, this is about 21 years ago. And he was so angry. He's screaming, cursing. This is the worst thing you've ever done. The drugs, the tattoos, like you're breaking into cars and how he's naming all these but this is the worst. Like the worst. What do I do? Like I believe in God now. I became a better person. Because it's such a rejection of their values of who they are, and this is another concept of what happened is a lot of times parents want to do what's right for their kids, but in their minds they want to do what's right based on what they think is right, maybe not necessarily what is right for the child. These are all extensions of ego, of wanting to see the child be who I want them to be, not necessarily what their path in life is. So a lot of it has to start from this, going back to this relationship show. And she also said that she's like, listen, relationships aren't about being right. They're about doing what works. And when you always want to be right, even inside of your mind, right meaning it's not my fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. It's their fault. You caused me to be this way. It's your fault. Because you make me stress. You make me for a long time I had a lot of stress because I felt I had to be responsible for everyone else's happiness. And if my mother, my father, my wife, if they're not happy, I must be doing something wrong, and then I feel guilty because it's my fault. I'm not being a good enough son, or not being a good enough child. And it's the same feeling of I need to be responsible for someone else's acts, and that's not true. It's not true. Everyone else has to be responsible for their own feelings, their own emotions. I can't make you stressed or make you sad or make you angry. Maybe I say things that you don't like, but your decision to be angry or stressed doesn't come from me. That comes from you. So it has to go beyond this place of blame, of being right. And that's when she said, relationships are not about what about being right or wrong. It's about, doing what works. And, that's kind of the idea of when let's say you get into a fight with, I don't know, a friend, a parent, whatever, because a husband and wife, they get into a fight, right? Even let's say you're wrong. Okay, you know what? No, let me rephrase. Let's say the other person's wrong. Other person's always wrong, right? It's not my fault, right? I always say there's, if you look at a coin, right? So there's one opinion's on one side and one opinion's on the other side, and the truth is like the little thing in the middle that separates them, because you listen to I'm an attorney, and it's fascinating how you could be in a courtroom and you could be arguing a case, and you listen to one side and you're like, oh my God, yeah, for sure. You listen, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Mm-hmm. They're both so convincing. And when you get in an argument, everyone feels that they're right and the other person's wrong. And it takes humility to at least start from the point of, let's say 50-50, right? Remember when we got to this place? You used to say it all the time, 50-50, right? 50-50. Okay, fine, good, fair enough, right? Because in the end, like they say, it takes two to tango, two to dance. You have to have some accountability from each side. But, let's say in my mind, I'm like, we're fighting. Just my wife and I, for example. We never fight, but whatever. Let's say we are fighting. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, you know what? She is 100% wrong. This time, no way. No way. She's way wrong. I did nothing wrong. She's lunatic. She's crazy. And now we're not talking. And I go over to her and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have acted that way. I shouldn't have said anything. Right away, she's going to soften. And
Now I know you're affected.
hopefully say, I'm sorry as well. And you'll start talking, and it'll go away. The idea of the month of Elul, of Anilo Dori V'Dodili, is we come to God regardless of whatever we think He's done wrong, of whatever we think He's screwed us for, whatever we think He's messed up our life for. And we say, God, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Immediately, it causes softening. And God, we may not hear Him, but He says, I'm sorry too. He says, I'm sorry too. I'm sorry for putting you through what you put through. But you have to believe that I love you. And even though it may seem like something terrible, there's good in there. And you may not know it now, you may not know how to know it. But it's about rebuilding a relationship of trust, not because I'm right or he's wrong, because it's what works. It's because that's where our life comes from. That's where our energy comes from. That's where our blessings come from. That's where our parnasa comes from. That's where our happiness comes from. This is the pipe of energy that's coming down from above and entering into every single Jew. It's either a face-to-face relationship or it's a back-to-back relationship. And we have that power to determine which way it's going to be. And I've been in both of those relationships with God, and I can tell you, it's back-to-back is not a pleasant relationship. It's like being in a home or being with you go to work with a coworker and you're not talking to them and you just walk by each other or a friend, and we've had these periods you just think it's not benefiting. It sucks. And sometimes it just takes a little humility to say, I'm going to make the first step. Even if I know I'm right and you're wrong, God, I'm going to take the first step. And what happens? Only good happens. Or we could say, no, screw you. You screwed me up. I want nothing to do with you. Okay. And another year goes by of sadness, of depression, of loneliness, of feeling something's missing. What do we gain? We're not benefiting. Yeah.
What if you don't feel sad and depressed and like something's missing?
You mean from separating from God?
Yeah.
Okay.
What if you separate from God and you feel absolutely fine about that decision?
Okay.
It's a tricky question.
It's a tricky question.
And
You can
nailed it.
feel that way, but I'm going to challenge you. When you deal in the realm of healing, of work, I was talking to someone the other day about doing deep healing work, and we were saying the same thing of you don't realize how sick we are until we start getting healthy, right? When things are not right internally, mentally, emotionally, whatever, and we have a breakthrough, whether that's from breath work or plant medicine or therapy or some level where something opens up that was previously closed. We have a new energy, a new light. We feel more alive. We look back behind and say, wow, I thought I was doing okay, but I realize how much better I'm doing now. So we can be okay, right? But the goal in life isn't to be okay. The goal of life is to be good, to be better, to constantly improve and to become happier and to go from survival to thriving to, from a psychological standpoint, unconsciously, every single decision we make in our life, every word that comes out of our mouth, every action that we do is going to be towards one or two paths. It's to avoid pain or seek out pleasure. That's how we operate as human beings. We're trying to avoid uncomfortable situations, or we're trying to put ourselves into good situations. And when we're in a state of I don't even want to call it trauma, whatever the case may be, usually we're focused on avoiding bad situations. When we start getting well, we start focusing more on seeking out good situations, and the good continues to grow. And I understand where you're coming from, believe me, and I understand your frustration. And I can't be in your shoes because I haven't gone through what you've gone through. Right? Only you could go through what you've gone through.
You had a very good time when you were not religious. You never seeked for God.
Huh?
But before you became religious, you're having the time of your life without connection to God.
For
right?
a little while.
For a little while, for a long time. No. You did good. You enjoyed.
Sure.
And what?
And I start feeling empty and lonely
So
and alone.
after you mean because.
So what I'm saying is, at some
but
point,
he did very good. Everyone thought that he became religious because of trauma, so they had to find a reason. And he told me.
For them, my parents, it was their trauma.
Everything. What?
It was my parents' trauma.
I think it's your parent, but it's interesting because I was asking questions when I was 15, 13, 16 already. Question, why is life? Who needs it? And you didn't never ask. You were so happy. You understand? You had the time of their life. You understand?
But I
She's
didn't
telling
know.
me I'm okay.
I understand. So what I'm trying to say is, everything's in perspective. The feeling of, I'll just use my example of loneliness and solitude, of when you have a real relationship with God in your life, you're never lonely. You're not, because you really feel God's presence with you all the time. You could be frustrated, you could be annoyed, you could have a hard time, but you don't feel like you're alone. You know that God is with you and going through it together.
The question is, did you ever feel anyone of the presence of God? You understand? Because you need to do this, going to this tshuva. You understand what I'm saying?
Correct.
Because we grew up religious, you have to break it to find it in a way by you.
You have to find, what is tshuva?
Because
Tshuva doesn't mean
they
repentance.
grew up religious.
I understand.
Okay? It's a frame.
Tshuva doesn't mean repentant. It means to return.
To return.
In other words, there's a difference in having fun and having an inner enjoyable pleasure. I had a lot of fun, and I made a lot of money, and I did a lot of fun things, and it was really fun. But like when you're not in the carnival and going on the rides and you're sitting home, it's what happens is it becomes like a drug, and you need that dopamine, so you keep doing it more and more, and the fun becomes more, and then eventually it dies out. And it's because if I look back on my life, and most people looked at my life before and say, why would you possibly do this? But I can tell you that I've never been happier in my life. I would never go back to the life I had before, because I've experienced a higher state of pleasure and enjoyment internally without needing the external things. And that's from revealing God inside of my life. And it's a journey. I get it. Everyone has to go through their journey. But it's impossible. And I'm not... Well, I've been in the center long enough to know that no one here pushes anything on anyone. No one's here to preach anything on anyone. We're just here to give you all a safe place to feel comfortable to come and share how we feel and our journeys, and everyone can take whatever they want from it. But I can just tell you from a just pure mathematical equation, when you have a piece of God inside of you, a godly soul, which we all do, which we may not want there. We may wish it was gone. We may hate it. We may wish we were Mormons. We may wish we want nothing to do with it, but you can't take it out. It's inside of you. And when God's inside of you and you're ignoring it or disconnecting for it or running or hiding from it, it's impossible to be fulfilled in your life. You could be okay. You could go through life being okay, for sure. But to actually reach a state of joy, of happiness, of feeling good, you can't. It's not physically possible because that's the way God set up the mechanism, right? It's like you could take a bird and clip off its wings and stick it in a cage and say, look, it's singing, it's happy. Is it?
Because rejecting part of you, you're rejecting part of you.
100%. So that bird with its clipped wings could sit in the cage and tweet and be like, oh, look how happy the bird is. I don't think the bird's happy. I think the bird's making the best of its situation, but that bird wants to fly. That bird can't be happy unless it's flying, because that's what it is. It has wings. It's supposed to fly. So we without embracing this part inside of us, so we're always going to feel that, okay, I'm okay, but something's always going to feel wrong. And I'm not trying to be preachy. I'm just, this is just the reality of the journey. And the journey is at some point in time when we get to a place where we're like, you know what? I'm going to make the first move here. And I'm going to reach out and I'm going to say, you know what, God, I'm sorry. And it's so hard to do, but I'll give you a little trick. You don't have to be genuine about it. It could be just plain lip service. You may not even mean it. But when the words come out of your mouth and you do tshuva and something happens, something changes inside. God's basically saying, I'm giving you a cheat code. I don't care if you mean it or not. I don't care if you're really still angry. But what you're doing is you're opening up a path for new energy to come to you. Where it was blocked, you're opening it. And what happens is we start transforming, and it starts having what we say is a snowball effect, and then we start actually feeling God's presence in our life. And when we feel it and it feels good, we start saying to ourselves, you know what? I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm not angry anymore. Maybe there'll always be a bitterness inside of me, but at some point in time, to just let go of, it's like, I'll use our relationship again at a point in time with like my wife and I. It's like we've been through a lot, and sometimes it's hard to let go. But you get to a point where you're like, okay, so what? Whatever happened before, it's over. It's gone. Let's focus on the now. Let's focus on the future. Let's start working in a good way together, because what's the alternative, right? We could get divorced. No, we don't want to get divorced. Or we could live and be okay with each other and not have real joy, but that kind of sucks, right? It's not an enjoyable thing. And this is the idea of Chai Elul. It's the life of the month of Elul. Chai means life, and again, it means the questions. There's a very big difference between living and being alive. Many people are alive, but they're not really living. We're alive because we're breathing. But if you're really, chai, like you said, chai is it's a chayus. Chayus is more than just I'm breathing. That's something to be thankful for too. One of the reasons we hold anger, we have begrudging, and again, I'm not judging anyone. It's hard. Life is not easy. It's not. Being a Jew is it's compounding. And you want to bring the Rebbe and Chabad into it, it's a whole nother level. It's hard. It is. It's hard. It's not easy. It really, really is hard. And I on a regular basis said, God, what do you want from us? It's like, come on. How much do we need to suffer? How much? Enough. It's enough already. How much do we have to go through this? It's painful. It's very, very, very painful, and it's very, very frustrating. But the idea is that chayus, it's the first woman, Adam's wife. Her name was not Chava, it was Chaya. It only became Chava after she sinned. The Zohar explains that the Yud is all 10 sfirot. And the Vav is just the emotion. She lost her mochin. She lost her capacity to have an intellect in connecting in a higher way, and it fell from Chaya to Chava. But Chaya literally means living, life. And that's really how we're supposed to be. That's how life is supposed to be in an optimal way. We're not supposed to be just surviving. We're supposed to be filled with chayas and enjoyment and real simcha. And it's hard to do that. It's impossible to do that when we're disconnected from ourselves. And that's part of the godly soul that's inside of us. And that's what happened. The Baal Shem Tov, when he first came into existence and started spreading Chassidus over a few hundred years ago, the Jews were in a very bad state. They were in a very, very low. There was a lot of pogroms. There was very horrible things happening, and the Jewish people were very broken. It says if someone passes out, if God forbid someone faints, you know how you're supposed to wake them up? I've heard this before.
Call their name.
Yeah, you're supposed to whisper their Hebrew name into their ear, and it connects to their soul and awakens them. So in every generation, we're sent a leader, and the leader's name is indicative of what their mission is and how they connect to the generation. So Yisrael, Yisrael means Jew, Israel, right? And the Jewish people lost their Jewish identity. They wanted nothing to do with being Jewish. It was painful to be Jewish, right? And the Baal Shem Tov came along and started spreading good. So I'm Yisrael. I'm showing you that you're a Jew, and that you have, every one of you, a meaning. You have the capacity to have a meaningful, real, enjoyable relationship with God, regardless of where you're holding in your life, regardless of what's happened in the past, what you've done, what you haven't done. It exists. You're here right now. You can do it. The Alter Rebbe came along, Shner Zalman, Shnei, or two lights, and said, now I'm going to teach you how to do it. I'm going to give you a mechanism of Chabad Chassidus, a philosophy of how you're going to connect to Hashem. It's interesting. We have a similar thing with our Rebbe. That our Rebbe came right after the Holocaust, when the Jewish people were in a very, very bad state, and everyone was depressed and sad and wanted nothing to do with anything. And what is the Rebbe's name? It's Menachem. What is Menachem? It's the Comforter. He came along to comfort us. How did he comfort us? Tell us Mashiach's coming. That we're close to redemption. We're close to the final stages where everything is going to be revealed for good.
It's very interesting because the Rebbe is Menachem, and the big Chassidut that are really working now, it's Breslev and Chabad. Breslev is Rabbi Nachman. It's the same root. So Menachem to comfort, and Menachem like the Rebbe, like the Chabad. This is the most, in Israel it's very strong. The Chabad and Breslev now, it's really, all the Baalei Tshuva, this is the two, how do you call it? There's two waves that are really, both of them in a comfort. It's the root of comfort.
So what does it mean? It means the whole idea behind Chassidut, Chabad Chassidus, the Chassidus in general, is this is the idea, this is the comforting. The comforting is that all of the challenges and difficulties come when we try to make logical sense of God. I can't make logical sense why this young man was trying to set up an eruv and got electrocuted. Can anyone make logical sense why someone would get a disease or have a holocaust? There's no logic to it. But when we try to find logic and we try to make meaning and try to understand why God did this to me or why God would allow this to happen to me, we've lost. Because you can't. It's impossible. Good Yom Tov.
Bye.
Yes. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. God should bless you to give you true happiness and give you real good revealed reasons
Amen.
to be happy all the
Continue
time.
fighting. I love this.
Yeah.
I love this.
God bless. So this is the whole point of Chassidus. What happens is we can't make sense. When we try to use our logical brain to make sense of an infinite God who's moving 7 billion people of generations.
Why do you make us conscious?
Huh?
Why do you give us consciousness?
Give us free choice.
What is it, Lucia? I didn't hear the question.
Why to give us consciousness?
Why Hashem gave us consciousness? This is something about it's a that type of culture. This is the
No, that's when they internalize negative consciousness.
Oh, gotcha.
But there's self-consciousness and there's godly consciousness.
Nothing makes it doesn't make sense. None of this
which
makes-
is what.
It's making less and less sense as the days
Correct.
go on. I can't.
Correct, which is why what Hodaya just said is, and why I just said Menachem. What does comfort mean? When you learn Chassidus, what happens is you're putting light. You're putting pure godly light. And I'm not saying like I was at a wedding, it was like a year ago, and I was so traumatized. Like we were sitting out with a bunch of Lubavitchers, and they were telling stories how when they were in school, how they would get in trouble, and the teacher would make them learn Tanya Baal Peh. I'm like, are you kidding me? That was your punishment? What kind of sick people? Like Tanya, the most beautiful light, and you're punishing them by making like, this is crazy to me. And unfortunately, again, I don't come from the world that you all come from. But when my trauma came from my parents trying to push me or turn me into what they wanted me to be. But when your trauma comes from God, from learning Torah, from people pushing you to do this, what's your nature? I don't want to do it. You tell me do it, I don't want to do it.
I didn't have that experience with like, we want you to do it, so you need to do it. Like I don't feel like I was trying to rebel. Maybe I was, but I really just wanted to understand, and maybe too much logically. Maybe that's the problem.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. The highest level of
Getting
knowledge,
worse.
you know what the highest level of knowledge is?
What?
To know that you don't know.
Okay, but that sucks. I want to think I know. Maybe that's more comforting.
I've been trying to understand my wife for almost 20 years. I don't know anything.
Hello. Because I'm Sovev Kol Almin. And it's a makif. You can
I see.
Makif. It's a high level of life.
No, Sarah, I hear you, and you're 100% right. And that's the idea of what we
How
say.
do you believe in anything?
So,
Well, there's nothing to identify with, and there's nothing. I can't believe in anything either because it's everything is nothing, and every good is every bad, and everything has its point, So and now what? And what?
I understand. No, you feel like there's no.
I hear you. I'm not disagreeing
You
with
feel
you.
like there's no ground to step on.
No, there's
and
no.
To feel
And you
I'm
go to one
safe,
person-
I'm walking on as
Yeah,
safe. I
and they
understand
tell you, hey, if you listen to me, I'm telling you,
Right.
you're gonna be good.
I got it.
And you go to the other person, and all these people are like, they have a right in themselves. They're not stupid, And
Right.
everybody has their thing, but everyone disagrees with each other. And
Because it's all subjectivity. We just had, I couldn't look at it, but before we started the Farbrengen, and this guy with this Charlie Kirk, came up, and some people in the center chat were like, terrible loss, and like there's a few new guys in the center who are a little bit leaning to the other side politically, and they're like, oh, he wasn't a good person, he was no friend, and there's, I never saw the center chat so active. Everyone, it was like a war explode. I couldn't even, I'm like, I don't even have the headspace to deal with this. They're attacking each other, going crazy, and everyone thinks they're right? And everyone has their different positions. Which is why ultimately, going back to again, what is menucha? What is comforting? When you're going into God's knowledge and you're learning, not because your parents told you to, not because you want a cookie in Olam Haba, none of that stuff. Just because you want to do your best to try to understand God's perspective, so to speak, on things. What happens is the more light you start entering into your brain, it pushes away the darkness, and the questions start minimizing.
Fading.
You start saying to yourself, I don't need to know. It's okay. I don't need to know everything. I used to drive myself crazy trying to figure things out. And the more I learned, the more Torah I learned, I just said, it's okay. I don't need to know everything. I understand God. No, I don't know why God this. I don't know this. But I can find a place inside of me to know that God is good, and that somehow all this has to make sense, and somehow it will all make sense. And one of the biggest.
I know that too.
Yeah, but the more light that you put inside, the more will come just from knowledge to menucha, to peace, to calmness. It'll melt away all that needing to figure it all out, right? Because I'm like that too. I'm a very logical, intellectual person, and I got to make sense of it. I got to figure it out. And my wife used to say, she's like, wow, you could make yourself crazy.
You didn't see. He's bored and he's, remember?
Which one?
You're bored behind your back when you're sitting
Yeah.
in your room.
The
Someone saw it because he started giving classes.
it's like a big,
It's a mad scientist, you know, with all these numbers.
Yeah.
And people come and say,
the
"This
whole
is not normal."
wall is like a whiteboard with markers, or, like.
Markers of things.
Did you see the movie A Beautiful Mind? You know what it is?
I know of
Yeah.
it.
Oh,
I haven't seen it.
like, the guys start making all these crime. Like, hope they don't arrest me. Think I'm a lunatic. I'm like, all doing like, or the movie Pie. Did you ever watch the movie Pie?
I feel like I know.
I should watch it one time. It's crazy, but the premise is this guy's trying to figure everything out. All of society, like
Did you
because
figure it out?
you can't. No, you can't. So the
I
idea.
think
What's the point of watching it?
I think it's coming from us children not feeling safe for the adults. We need to figure out because no one's figuring out for us and helping us. This is how I feel. Why do I had it? It's like, why do I need to figure out? Because when you're a child, you're not supposed to figure out. Because you're so safe by your parents and you're holding their hands. If you don't safe, you try to figure out things.
Even
I'm
beyond
sorry,
that,
For me.
I'm-
Never should blame it.
I know. I'm saying even before that,
No,
the very first sin was a sin of
I said that. Knowledge.
sin of knowledge.
Knowledge.
Try to know something.
Meaning, and it's to some extent reflecting what you're saying, is that if we really trust God, we don't need to know what's going to happen next. Where are we going? What's going to happen? What's going to be there? Because we're so afraid that something maybe bad is going to happen, right? We're trying to control the
Because the
situation.
bad things do happen.
But what is knowing about it? How are we going to control it?
I don't know. I don't know. I know.
It's a
not
false
necessary.
sense of
It's
security,
false
right?
sense
Like
of security.
if I know that, but you don't know
It's
because
me
you can never
driving
know.
in the car holding the wheel like this, and the guy said, "You can let go," and I said, "No, I can't." I said, "But why? It's not moving. It's not the. I don't know. It's nachon because I was not safe, and you're afraid."
So
But
this
you're
is
not- you can't trust that everything's gonna be okay. You have to trust that whatever happens is for the best.
right.
That's what you're trusting, not that things are gonna be okay
It's not easy.
and that anything will ever be the way you want it. Hopefully it will.
Right. So
But ultimately,
if you think about it, I'll just use myself for example. One of the hardest or one of the biggest reasons that we get frustrated, the source of all, I won't say all, but a very large amount of frustration, anger, disappointment comes from entitlement. It's a mindset of, I wanted this and I didn't get it. I was expecting this to happen and the opposite happened. I did something good and something bad happened to me. I did good. Why is this bad? I'm entitled to good because I did. This is not a conscious thing. I'm not saying we think it through, but unconsciously, we have a sense of entitlement that our life should unfold the way we want it to unfold.
that's also true.
And if it doesn't, we get angry.
Yeah.
We get upset. And the opposite of entitlement is gratitude. If we find ways to be thankful for the little things, we open ourselves up for more blessings and less sense of entitlement and more of like, wow, I went through a period of my life where I was from already at the point in time. I was already doing everything, but I still had like an anger inside of me because I didn't feel my life was going the way I wanted it to go. And things were, I was angry. I was angry in my marriage. I was angry in my work. I was angry when I had to start fundraising for the center and I never had to ask people for money before. It's like everything around me, I was doing it, but I was angry. And I was so frustrated that why is God making my life so hard? I'm trying to do good things, and it seems like my life gets getting harder and harder and harder. And I didn't verbalize this, but inside, I was like, I don't deserve this. Why is my life so hard when I'm focusing my whole life on trying to do good for other people? And my life keeps getting harder. Something's not right in this mathematical equation. And it built up this anger, and I was walking around, and I was trying to be nice to him, but inside I was like boiling, and I had a grudge against God, and I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it. But I was just going through the stages, and I just had an anger, and the more anger I had, the more negativity came to me, and it took a break. It took a major break to the point where I just shifted my mindset, and some of the things I'm sharing with you now, I started doing, and I realized, all right. See, I for better or for worse, I don't like losing. It's very painful for me. I don't like, so I like to try to figure out how things work so I can make them work and do good and have revealed good. And I started to realize that, I used to tell my wife, that the world that God set up, it's mathematical equations. It's pure math. Whatever you relate to God is what you're going to get back. You get out what you put in. And I started realizing, you know what? I don't mean this, but there's a game going on here. And we could look at it in one of two ways, that God is mean, he's cruel, he's manipulative, he's horrible, or this is his world. He created it. He created the rules, and he gave me life. What did I do to deserve to be born? I deserve to have air right now. I deserve to be able to see, to speak, to talk, to eat, to enjoy the taste of, I earned it? No, God just gave it to us. So who am I to complain when he makes my life challenging? What about all the good he gives me?
I totally agree with that. Totally. And I think that's the best way to live,
Right.
and to think. But it just, but then there's the other side, and you actually
Don't think about the others. I'm just kidding.
Then you go and look at But
I hear you.
You look at all that, and then you're like, whoa, terrible. But then, okay, no. Yeah.
This is the journey.
This is real, and then whoa, and you just.
And the more gratitude and the more thanks, even if we don't really mean it, the more that woe goes down and the more the blessings come. And that's what I started doing. I would literally go to sleep. I still do it. And when I lay in bed, and for 5 minutes, I would close my eyes before I went to sleep, and I'd say, thank you, God, for giving me air. Thank you, God, for giving me sight. Thank you, God, that I can hear, that I could speak. Thank you, God, that I could do mitzvot. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my children. Thank you for all the good I get to do in the world. Thank you for all. And when things are hard, thank you for the challenges. Thank you for the difficult. And what happens is you're opening up your vessel for blessings, even if you don't mean it. It's a game.
I have to tell you.
It's a mathematical game.
Mathis is more easy than me.
That's for sure.
In a way that
We should do a comedy show together.
no, because I was writing, thank you Hashem for life, thank you for this, thank you. After a while, I couldn't stand it. I threw it to the garbage. I said, I'm not doing it anymore. It's a stupid
Don't
thing.
write, speak.
No, because I wanted to do it to the brain. It's good to write. Hated it. I couldn't do it. Only when I asked forgiveness from my father, I had to do it. Something was blocking. I couldn't do that. And my name is Hodayan. Just imagine. Menucha. You are Menucha.
Yeah, I'm like, where is it?
It's exactly Hodaya, and I'm
Please?
the most complaining person in the world because I had such a grudge stuck in my heart. The grudge was so angry at him and my mother and my family and everyone, and I couldn't do the gratitude. It's Hodaya. I am Hodaya, and I'm not at all. And he told me do the Hodaya and the Rebbe Abush and everyone. I'm writing, and it's so fake and disgusting. And I did it for a long time, and I took this notebook and I just threw it to the garbage. Say it's not working for me. It didn't work. I had to do that. The first step was forgiveness. Something in the forgiveness opened the heart. Slowly started to say how beautiful is the world, and how I'm a little small speck. Something in the forgiveness that I asked forgiveness from my father that I didn't care that he was pitied me for more. I just hate him for rejecting that he didn't want children, that he wanted a boy, that we used to have such a. He was injured. It's like Hodaya, why you don't forgive him? He's injured, and I'm screwing my children exactly like he's screwing me. So what's the problem? What, you can't understand me? I judged him. I couldn't go to get out of the judgment chair and look at him and said, you know what? I was so mean, so childish. I can't understand that my father is PTSD for more. He wants it. A normal parent in his being loves his parents, his children like crazy. There are parents that are doing so crazy things, like completely. Even they are doing it in their essence, they love their children. Why it's coming in corrupt, I don't know. But anyway, I needed before. It didn't work for me. You see, he's easier. I don't know why. I'm not getting with this compliment.
Not easier.
But I
In
don't
a
know,
different
for
journey.
me, I had to open the heart to first of all, to ask forgiveness, and then it's open the thing. I feel it's a light. I had to break it with this forgiveness. You understand? I don't know. It didn't
listen.
go for me. I know everyone is easy. Thank you, God. It's okay.
It's not easy.
It didn't work with what?
I'm not talking about
I
it.
wish that-
It's easy. Go ahead.
Say something. Say.
I said I can't do it.
You see?
Can't what?
I wrote it.
What? No, I want to hear from
Thank you
Mushka.
thing is really not.
נכון, I couldn't.
You can't do it? What, the gratitude part?
Yeah.
Why?
Cursing it.
No, I know you are.
I'm
Mushka.
happy to
You
take
need to help her. She knows how to talk.
I'm happy.
It's frustrating.
What's frustrating?
What she's saying, like, I don't know, it doesn't come to me. I'm like I'm thankful for things, and I am, but sometimes, like, it's like, you don't want to start thinking, okay, thank you for for breathing, like, or like,
What?
it's stupid, like.
Why?
It feels stupid.
It feels
Why?
stupid.
And hypocrite.
It's
I
a feel
get it.
Why?
Because in the other
I'm asking Mushka.
I don't know, it's a good
Every time I ask my kids a question, she answers.
No,
We don't need you to help. She is incapable.
I feel the same thing.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's also hard coming. No, sometimes I'll think, okay, I'll have moments where I can, like, for a moment I'll sit and I'll think to myself, wow, okay, wow, I have this and have that, and that's great. But to actually have a moment to sit and really try to do it, I don't know. Maybe I just need it to come naturally at times, but it doesn't, like, I can't make myself do it. Make myself sit.
There's probably resentment. There's probably still anger inside of. No, I'm just honest because
Probably.
right. Yeah. No, it's okay. I'm saying it's like I like it's the same way. Like how can I like turn to my wife and say, you know, I'm sorry or I'm thankful to you or whatever if I begrudge her inside? I can't. I can't do it. So it's again it's hard to let go of that inside blockages, right? And the idea is you know, sometimes we have to go against our nature because we live in a reality where when things are not coming natural or they're not flowing or we just don't do it. But it's very hard because we have to get uncomfortable and do things even if they don't feel like it, even not in the mood for it, even if we don't have it inside of us. Because it's, you know, the nature of a person is, it's a Freudian mindset, which is, if it feels good or it feels right or it's natural, it makes sense, I'm going to do it. But if not, I'm not. And Chassidus is a complete opposite. It says the first thing you do is you do. You do it first. And then the second thing is after you do it enough, you start to understand it. And the last thing is you start to feel it in your heart. The nature comes last. We have to break it.
I think
Not because it's not because we believe it, because it's what works.
Way of doing things, though.
Hmm?
I just feel like that's a very masculine way of being.
Why?
Like the doing, and then the so focused on the doing, and like, do you know what I mean?
But I learned in Kabbalah and Hasidut that there is the way of getting light from the crown, Chabad, Chagat, and you're getting influence like this. Sometimes when something blocks, they get you a high. No, you don't get from the Keter. Sorry, it's getting Mochin, Chagat, Nehim, and it's going out the influence. But sometimes when you're so stuck, you don't go on the natural way. You need to go to Malchut, to the down, to just do. And it's doing a bypass to the crown and then opening everything.
Right.
And this is where I learned in Kabbalah and Hasidut, the psychologic according to this. But I wanted to say to you, Mushka, something. Julia is helping me a lot with this. I did a lot of peace with darkness and pain. I had to do a lot of peace with it. And last time she told me about darkness, she told me, Badaya, Hashem sent you in such a darkness because he knew that only you, not only you, all the people that went through such hardship, they will survive the darkness and will go out of it strong and make something from it.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Don't make fun.
I'm not making fun. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's a song about this. You're not
It's
alone.
a Goyish song. You don't sing.
Excuse me, it's a Jewish song. Simon and Garfunkel were both Jewish.
They're not religious.
They are Jewish, both of them.
Shabbos, so don't annoy me.
Art Garfunkel, Paul Simon. Come on, they're Jews.
Anyway,
Yeah.
something about, I don't know, just really happy to do peace with pain and darkness. I don't know. It's I don't know, I'm doing peace with it. I used to fight why, there's darkness, why, there's pain, why. And I'm 50 years old and still don't get there. And then you like, or you fight it, or you're becoming like, okay, darkness.
Enough, right?
One day, when you feel like you're fed up of this, it will come. But it's everyone has their process. But something about darkness and pain, I don't forgive Hashem for it. And it's for funny because it's written, Yotzer Or Uvorech Choshech. He created the darkness, and darkness is coming from a higher light than the light.
In Judaism, he counts the days starting at night.
Starting the there's so
Think
many
about
ways
that, just for a
starting
second.
the darkness to get to the light, and
Our days start at night.
I had to do this.
Why? It's a very simple thing, and it doesn't make sense.
Only in Yiddishkeit.
Only in Judaism.
Listen,
You start counting the days at night because darkness comes first before the light. You have to. We all start with the premise of it's dark, but you have to push to the dark to
Why
light
do we all have this idea that things should be good then?
because they should be.
We just be like, oh no, they're dark. Like,
So, you know-
automatically you should just be like ready for it.
Right, like
You
why
know,
don't
the-
we accept it?
So here's the during the month of Elul, it's why do we blow the shofar? We blow the shofar every day to prepare for Rosh Hashanah, right? So what is the shofar doing? Our heart has, I'm going to generalize right now. We have what say chetzoni halev and penimi halev, the inner part of the heart and the outer part of the heart. Most of the time, we're functioning from the outer part of the heart. The outer part of the heart is the emotions that we feel, the hardness, the pain, the challenges, the difficulty, the darkness. It's the thing that's blocking us from doing whatever that may mean to anyone, right? Doing the things that we maybe should be doing that we're hard to do. It's blocked. All the pain, all the suffering, every time we go through, it puts another layer around our hearts. And it starts building that up until it becomes thick. And then our hearts become blocked. And we just don't feel like anything of this sort of thing. The idea of the shofar is that it's coming and it's entering to what we say panimius halev, the inner part of the heart. This is the part that enables us to ani lododi, to go to Hashem in this month, even if normally we don't want to. It doesn't make sense. We don't feel it. Because this is the keter. The crown, the keter, the highest level is in the inner part of the heart. And the inner part of the heart is the part that we never separate from God. And if we can push through those outer layers of darkness and get to that inner place, it's such a bright light. It's a lot of darkness to get through there. It's a lot of levels. But inside that place is that bright light. And that bright light is the place of where there's no loneliness, where there's no sorrow, where there's no pain. This is why you see that Mashiach, right, is the same root of Chamesh and Simcha. Simcha, Mashiach, Chamesh, it's the same root letters. Because Chamesh is the fifth level of your soul. This is called the Yechida. The Yechida is inside the heart, in the innermost dimension. Mashiach, right, this is when you connect to that fifth level. And this is what Simcha is. True joy, true happiness is to connect to that level in the inner part of our hearts where we're connected to God above logic, above what makes sense, above what is right or wrong or dark or light or just it's a deep inner connection where everything else just melts away. Yeah. That's the idea of the shofar. That's the idea of Rosh Hashanah. It's interesting. I was learning a mimer from the Rebbe the other day, and it said, "What does it mean the king's in the field?" By Panemius Torah. I mean, the king's malchus. So normally malchus, Panemius malchus, doesn't descend down to Bia. It stays up in Atzilus. It's the inner dimension that goes up. The outer dimension of malchus goes down. So the inner part of the malchus, which is what we're talking about, the Panemius Alev, never descends to Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, except in the month of Elul.
Wow.
This means the king is the field. He's coming down through the worlds of Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. And that energy that normally doesn't come down, that stays up, is coming down and manifesting in this physical world where we have access to the inner part of our heart. That's the blowing of the shofar. That's arousing this Panemius Malchus. This is the king in the field that's coming to these inner dimensions that gives us that capacity to connect in a level that's above logic, that doesn't make sense, that's not natural, that we're not in the mood, that we don't feel like it's all right. Everything is, you're 100% right. But do we want to be right or do we want to do what works? And this is really the humility of you know what, to find a place inside of me where I'm going to do it anyways, even if I don't feel like it, even if I'm not in the mood, even if I don't want, because inside I know that this is going to be the path to unlock my own redemption. You know, there's the 5 levels of our soul are connected in the nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, and yechida. It's connected. The nefesh is connected to mitzvot, to doing. The ruach is our spirit, our voice. It's the world of Yetzirah. It's connected to prayer. The neshama is connected to the intellect. It's Torah. And the chaya is the 4th level, is tshuva. Tshuva is above all the other 3 levels. In the month of Elul, God says, I don't care if you're not learning Torah. I don't care if you're not doing mitzvot. I don't care if you're not praying. I don't care about anything. Just come back. You can bypass all these other levels through tshuva. Ultimately, the goal is to engage all of these things. But geula, or that 5th level, is the highest level. That automatically comes after Torah, tefillah, and good deeds. And then tshuva, and then you reach redemption. Geula is your personal redemption. It's the place inside of your freedom, of the key that's going to take you out of your own prison. And it's a hard thing to do because you have to want to go out of prison, right? And the Rebbe came and said, Mashiach's here. And he unlocked our prison door and he opened it and said, you can go out. But we're so stuck, and it's not our fault, in this place of, I don't want to.
You don't even realize how much of the prison you're in most of the time.
100%.
It's really hard when you know you're in it and you
can't
you
get
keep
out.
Right.
doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
I'm like, how do I stop doing this?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, then you find out that you're in prison, but you're still, now you're watching yourself in
Yeah,
prison.
it's that
Instead of
worse.
being in prison, and
Yeah.
you know you're in prison,
It's
now
really
you're
worse.
screaming yourself to get out of prison, but you're not getting out of prison, and it's just
Yeah.
like,
And you're like,
it's-
is this really happening again? Did I really do this again? I keep doing the same thing. Right. It's
all
so
the time,
frustrating.
I'm like, did I really just, again?
I
Like,
change?
we've been over this like 1,000 million times. Like, it's baffling. It's
I
like,
know.
it's
But
really
it's remind me,
astonishing.
it used to shock me about the Holocaust when the United States and the forces came to release the Jews from the camps,
Yeah.
and the gates were open, and people didn't go out. They didn't go out. And everything is open, and I read it in history, and I said, look how I am at and it's happened to me. I told you this time. I was busy with my thought. I would go in Jerusalem. There's a place, and there's a glass door. I told you this story. There's 2 glass doors. You know, entering to the malls, there's 2 glass doors. So I was so busy with my thought, and I was so, for sure, depressed. So I'm going and I'm trying to push the door, and I can't open it. And I said, come on, it's a mall, you can open a door. And there's a guy standing there. And he said, I can't believe it. If I had a phone, it was in the old days. The door was open. One was closed, and this one I was trying to push. And he's standing behind me, trying to, and he's sitting just doing this, and this door was open. I wanted to kill myself. This was a big lesson. Big lesson.
But if
You're
they're glass
so-
doors, then it kind of makes sense because it's see-through.
You're so kind.
And you don't have to be kind. He was laughing. I was like, I want to kill myself. It's like I was so stuck in my things, and I couldn't.
Didn't
see
even
the
realize
doors
it.
open.
You know, the story of this guy who's a very successful man, and he lived in this huge mansion with a big, beautiful family, and was very well liked in his community, did very good things. And one day, a man with a long white beard shows up. It was the Malach Hamavis, the angel of death. And he came when it was coming out to his car, when he go to work. He said, I'm terribly sorry to bring you this message, but I'm here to tell you that today's going to be your last day on earth. I came to take your soul. And you're not going to make it past the end of the day. You're going to die. And the guy's like, what do you, I total panic. He said, but you have a choice instead of dying. He said, you have to go into exile. Self-exile. You have to leave your family. You have to leave your money. You have to leave your cars. You have to leave everything. And you have to go out into the world with nothing, penniless. Nothing. And you have to go into exile and live in the streets until I come back and tell you that your exile is over. And you don't know when that's going to be. It could be a year, it could be 5 years, who knows? He said, but at one point in time, we will come back. He said, or you can die, it's your choice. The guy's like, oh, that's a great way to start the day. Wonderful. You know, like, I need to talk to my wife. He said, no problem. I'm going to come back 5 o'clock today and give me your decision. He goes and tells his wife. And his wife's like, it's horrible, but of course going to exile is better than dying. You know, what's the question? You know, at some point in time, you'll come back. So the Malach Amavis comes back and he said, okay, what is the choice? He said, I'm going to go into exile. I said, okay, bye. And the guy had to leave. Nothing, penniless, no whatever. And he went into the streets, and this was a very successful person.
Is this your story?
It's a mushal.
I could tell. As soon as you said exile, I was like,
Yeah. And he went out, and he came time for dinner. He didn't have food. He didn't know where to get food. He didn't want to beg. He didn't know how to beg. So he went to this restaurant where they would throw out the food and the garbage dump behind and got the leftovers. The first few weeks were like hell. He was sleeping in park benches. He was trying to figure out how to get food. Weeks went by, months went by, and he started figuring out what dumpsters he can get food out of, where he could sleep. He started panhandling, asking people for change, asking people for food, for money. He had nothing. This went on for weeks and months. And next thing you know, it was like over a year. He was trying to keep track. He was trying to keep track of days and weeks and months. 2 years went by. 5 years went by. And the guy totally forgot where he came from. He forgot about his family. He forgot about all his money. And he was a homeless person, sleeping on the streets, begging for money. And this went on for quite some time. 10 years later, he's sitting on a park bench, dressed in, rags, sitting there. And the man showed up, Malach Amavis, with the long gray beard. He said, hey, remember me? He goes, no. He said, I'm the one who sent you into exile. It was 10 years ago today. I have good news for you. Your exile's over. You're a free man. You can go back to all your wealth, all your riches, everything. It's there. Go back home. He's like, I don't know who you are. And he starts telling him the story and explaining. He says, oh, wow. I do remember. I'm really free? He said, yeah. He goes, I can go home? He said, yes. He said, do I have to go right now? There's in about an hour and a half, this man's going to bring me a sandwich. He gives me his leftover food from lunch. And as soon as I eat it, then I'll go back. And he said, yeah, sure, you can get your sandwich first. And the mashal of the story is that we get so stuck in our gullus that we're so used to a life of just crumbs that when the Rebbe come along and said, Gula is here, you can be free. Okay, when it comes, it comes. In the meantime, we got stuck in this mindset of gullus, of being stuck in our own kind of little bit, our own little worlds of comfort, of discomfort. So I want to give everyone a blessing. It's Chai Elul. It's really an opportune time. It's the life of the month of Elul, and again, it's connected to Chayas. That's it's really a month of tshuva. That whatever that means for each one of us to find a way to return, not only to God, to ourselves, because that's where you find our authentic selves. You can't get in touch with who you really are without the one who created you. It's just not. I've tried. It's not possible. Hashem should bless all of you and all of us to have true simcha, true chayas in our lives, true redemption in our lives. He should take away all the confusion, all the questions, all this noise. He said, redeem our hostages, avenge our blood, and we should all have real good happiness and redemption in our lives. L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim.
Amen.